Hello and good morning, students. Today we are going to study the first chapter of our history class 7th, that is medieval India, AD 700 to AD 1750. Now I have divided this chapter into 5 parts. First is meaning and concept, second different names of India, third historical developments, fourth how geography shaped history, and fifth historical sources. So the first topic which we will study is what is the meaning of medieval India. First of all, the meaning of the word medieval means the middle. So medieval India means we are going to study about the middle age. Now what is this middle age period? This is from 700 AD to 1750 AD. Our past is divided into 3 parts. First is the ancient period, second is the medieval period, and third is the modern period. The ancient period, it lasted from 1st century to 7th century AD. Then the middle period or the medieval period, it lasted from 8th century to 18th century AD, and the modern period, it lasted for 19th century as well as the 20th century. So we are going to study about this period. First of all, before studying this, we should know that in the medieval period, our country India, it has got different names. So these are the different names: Bharata, Jambudvipa, Saptasindhu, India, Hindustan. Now Bharata, why this name was given? In the early Vedic period, in Rig Veda, the Bharat was the name which was used to describe a group of people living in the northwest of the subcontinent. So that is why they give the name to our country as Bharata, because the people they lived in the northwest of the continent used to describe those persons. Next is Jambudvipa. Jambudvipa basically was given because it was in the Buddhist text, and it was given because there are a lot of jamun trees in our country. So that is why the people they give the name as Jambudvipa. Next is Saptasindhu. Indus was called as Sindhu in Sanskrit earlier. So in the Vedic age, the territory around river Indus and its tributaries was known as Sapt Sindhu. Then there are some French scholars which used to describe India as Indi. The French persons, they called India as Indi. Next is India. Foreigners who came to the subcontinent referred to the Indus as Hindos or Indos. They called the regions lying east of river Indus as India. And in the 13th century, the Minarjus Siraj, he was a scholar, and he used the term Hindustan first, which referred to the areas in the subcontinent that were under the control of Delhi Sultanate, such as Punjab, Haryana, and the lands between the rivers Ganga and the Yamuna. Yes, our next topic is historical developments during the medieval period. Now there are 5 major developments which occurred in the medieval period. We are going to study one by one. First is new ways of life. The period between AD 700 and AD 1750 saw immense changes in India, socially, politically, economically, and culturally. This was the period when new technologies such as firearms and spinning wheels came to be used in the Indian subcontinent. People from different parts of the world came to India, bringing with them different types of food, crops, and drinks such as potato, chili, coffee, and tea. They also brought with them new ideas and ways of life. Next is political and social groups. Many people and social groups rose to prominence during the medieval period. The Rajputs, the Sikh, the Marathas, the Jats, the Ahoms, and the Kayasthas were important among them. Then new regional powers. In AD 700, India was divided into several regions or states which had their own languages, cultures, and customs, and were ruled by different dynasties such as Cholas, Rashtrakutas, etc. Many foreign rulers such as the Turks, the Afghans, and the Mughals also set up their empires in India. Next is religion. Fourth point. There were many changes in Hinduism during the medieval period. New deities came to be worshipped, a number of temples were constructed, and religion became an important factor in deciding the social and economic status of a particular person. Islam was introduced in India in the 7th century by Muslim merchants and migrants. After Islam was introduced in the subcontinent, Guru Nanak laid the foundation of another new religion called Sikhism. Then one more development was the spread of Bhakti and Sufi movement in the India during the medieval period. And the last development was the development of trade. Now, trade flourished in the medieval century. Why? Because especially under the Muslim rulers, leading to the growth of many towns and cities. The growth of trade and the rise in demand for Indian goods in Europe and other parts of the world eventually attracted European traders. Yes, the next topic is how geography shaped history. Now, there are various geographical factors which helped in maintaining different cultures and different ideologies in our country. So first, Great Himalayas. Although Great Himalayas acted as a barrier against the people who came from outside or for the foreigners, but Great Himalayas became the only passage for the foreigners to enter into our country. These foreigners include the Turks, the Afghans and the Mongols, and there are other foreign rulers or the foreign invaders who came to India through Himalayas. Next is the Northern Plains. Now, Northern Plains always served as an important region in the history. Why? Because it was very fertile. The land was fertile and it attracted a lot of rulers and the kingdoms in India to settle and to set up their empire in the Northern Plains. For example, the rule of the Mughals. The Mughals, they set up their empire, the whole of the empire in the northern part of our country, especially in Delhi, around Delhi, Haryana and Punjab. So Northern Plains also was an important geographical factor in establishing the history of our country. Next is the Satpura and the Vindhya ranges. The Satpura ranges and the Vindhya ranges, they cut off the northern part of our country to the southern part. So what happened is, it kept away, this acted as a barrier. It kept away the northern rule from entering into the southern part of our country. So the southern empire was separated, the southern empire like the Cholas. So they were separated and it helped them to establish their own empire in the southern India. Next is the vast coastlines. India is having a long coastlines both in the western and in the eastern side. So these coastlines helped in selling the troops of the military and navy to different parts of the world. For example, like Sri Lanka, India sent a lot of military and navy troops to Sri Lanka and it helped in maintaining the trade in the country. Yes, our next topic is the historical sources. The medieval period is quite well documented. The number of written records multiplied during the period as paper became cheaper and easily available. There are many literary sources that tell us about the period, from the accounts of rulers to chronicles, dramas, travelogues, etc. So I have divided historical sources under two heads. First is the literary sources and the other is the archaeological sources. Now, literary sources are basically the written records. So under this head, first is the autobiographies. Autobiographies are the written records which are written by a particular person by their own. For example, the autobiographies of Babur and Jahangiri, that is Babarnama and Tuzuke Jahangiri. Next is historical works. Many works of history were written in Persian, Hindi dialects and Sanskrit in medieval India. Some important works were Kalhana's Rajtarangini, Prithviraj Raso. Then we have Humayun Nama, Akbar Nama, Aina Akbari and Padshah Nama, which were important historical works written during the Mughal period. Next are the folk tales. Folk tales are the collection of the stories in Sanskrit language as well as in the other language. The most important was the Katha Sarita Sagar was the collection of folk tales in Sanskrit, and it was written by a Kashmiri scholar called Somdev. Next is the accounts of travelers. Now there were several travelers who traveled around medieval India to provide valuable information about the places they visited. The important travelers were Al-Bruni, Ibn Battuta, Marco Polo, Sir Thomas Roe, and so many others. Next up we come to the archaeological sources. Now archaeological sources are the historical sources which we found in our past. So the first one is the inscriptions. Inscriptions, what are inscriptions? Inscriptions are basically the writings or the drawing usually engraved on surfaces such as stones, copper plates and walls of temples and monuments. For example, the inscriptions from Uttara Merur in Tamil Nadu give us the detail of the Chola empires. Next are the monuments. Monuments are basically the structures, the temples, the forts, palaces and the other structures which the medieval kings built. The monuments give us an insight into the lives of people and rulers of medieval India. Example, the Khajuraho temple, the temple at Konark, Mount Abu, Red Fort, Jama Masjid, Taj Mahal and so many others. Next is coins. Now coins serve as an important archaeological source from the past, most importantly in the Mughal Empire. They tell us about important rulers, their titles, the periods of their rule, their interests, achievements and important events, etc. And last is the paintings. A number of paintings dating back to medieval India shed light on the life of the people, their customs, dresses, jewelries and important events, etc.